Charlie Angus, the NDP ethics critic, and Liberal Deputy Leader Ralph Goodale. Good to see all three of you back in action.
We missed you, Evan.
Well, I always miss anybody that wants to come on this program regularly, like the three of you. Let's start with the robo-calls issue, the Pierre Poutine. How can Michael Sona, the only guy, Paul Calandra, who's been charged in this, be in two places at the same time? Because, he says out of the country. Well, testimony from Conservative staffers who said they spoke to him a week after the election say they were in country. So does that undermine the testimony against Michael Sona?
No, I don't think so. I think the staffers gave a time frame when they thought that they had spoken. They were asked to recollect a time when they had spoken to him, and they have done that. I know that Mr. Sona's lawyer is also not commenting at this time on this. Look, it's before the courts, and Elections Canada has investigated. It's before the courts, and I'm sure that they'll be able to get to the bottom of it. The reality is that if he is convicted, he should face severe punishment for it.
Right, but I guess the question is whether maybe he did it, or he did it, or he didn't do it. But the point is, the allegations that these staffers, they were there, they testified against him, that he bragged about it, they allege, but they had the Conservative Party lawyer Arthur Hamilton with them. And now obviously the defense, the Sona defense, is going to say this is made up. They're trying to make him the fall guy, and their testimony doesn't even match up. They say he bragged about it, he wasn't in the country. They say that he bought a credit card at a garage. The investigators say he bought it at a Shoppers Drug Mart. Lots of testimony might not add up here. What does that tell you?
Again, ultimately, Elections Canada has done an investigation on this. It's before the courts, and I trust that the evidence that is provided will lead to a conclusion, and ultimately that conclusion, I suspect, will show that Mr. Sona has acted on this. But if it's not, whoever was involved in this has to face the full extent of the law, and they have to be accountable for what they've done.
Can you tell us who, we still don't know who leaked Michael Sona's name originally to the Sun about this. Allegedly it's someone in your party. Can you tell us who, or if you guys have investigated, who gave Michael Sona's name out?
Yeah, I honestly don't know the answer to that question, Evan.
Charlie Angus, again, this is obviously he's charged. It's before the courts. What do you make of now the notion that some of Sona's testimony and some of the testimony from Conservative staffers don't line up on certain facts?
Well, I think if you're looking at the big picture, Evan, and putting this all in context, we have Elections Canada telling us that there was widespread voter fraud across the country in what appears to have been a coordinated fashion. So do Canadians really believe that the 21-year-old in Guelph was the mastermind of this? Then we find out that Elections Canada contacted the Conservatives and were stonewalled for months. They didn't answer, they didn't talk to them. If you say you're cooperating but you don't answer questions about issue of fraud, is very serious. So now with Michael Sona and Arthur Hamilton appears, we have now 4 or 5 Conservative witnesses coming forward, all telling the same story. But the question is of this huge discrepancy of them saying that he was all telling them, confessing everything, setting the pattern when he was apparently out of the country. Someone's not telling us the truth here.
All right. What do you make of this, Ralph Goodale?
Well, this latest information just raises the incredulousness about the whole situation. From the work of Elections Canada and from the work of the cases that were heard before federal court, there was obviously a pattern of electoral fraud that went on in the last election campaign. It may have extended as far as 200 different ridings across the country. And for the Conservatives to maintain the fiction that this was all the work of this one renegade who just ran amok is just very hard to believe, especially when you take into account what the judge said in the federal court about the source of the data and the likelihood that it came from very senior Conservative sources. All of that, of course, is now being litigated specifically in the Sona case, and the court will determine ultimately whether there's guilt or innocence there. Hopefully that case will shed some very practical light on the key question: could this scheme have been conducted by this one renegade running amok on his own, or did it have to necessarily involve a large number of other people, including people in very senior
But, I mean,
positions. That's what we need to know.
Okay, but I mean, this evidence that he has gone to Aruba, Charlie Angus, what would it really prove? I mean, in your case, is it just what Mr. Calandra said? Okay, so these witnesses, these people that allege that they saw him bragging, or in this case, it's a conservative staffer who says that, I can actually read the quote according to the investigators, let me just make sure I've got it here, that basically he bragged about it and he described it. But what does it really prove, in your view, that maybe she just got the dates mixed up?
Well, certainly if one witness comes forward and their dates are mixed up, well, it's he said, she said, this will be decided by the court. I think what's troubling is we find that Mr. Arthur Hamilton sat in on witness testimony, not representing the people being interviewed, but the Conservative Party. So that's very concerning. The fact that these witnesses were brought forward by Arthur Hamilton, and all of them seem to agree on the dates, but the dates appear to be wrong. So it's troubling. But I think it's troubling because we're seeing a larger pattern here. When we talk of up to 200 ridings where electoral fraud took place, and we've not really found out who was involved, but we've found that through Elections Canada that they were being stonewalled by the Conservative Party, and these all go back to key ridings that the Conservatives needed to win in that last election.
Mr. Calandra, help Canadians here. They've got this Rebecca Dockstetter who said that Sona was an exaggerator. She says that she describes this meeting in great detail, closed their office door, told her about buying a burn phone with cash. Now it looks like he wasn't even in the country at the time that she's saying this meeting took place. I mean, that's pretty interesting. Maybe she got the dates wrong. Why, though, explain to Canadians why people like this Rebecca Dockstetter are saying this to Elections Canada. Why are they saying it in the presence of the Conservative Party lawyer Arthur Hamilton? Why was the lawyer brought in to make these statements?
Look, Evan, these are young staffers who are volunteering on campaigns, and they had information with respect to Mr. Sona. I think it's only natural, of course, that it would have unfolded in this fashion. They have no reason, I don't believe, any reason to be out there fabricating evidence.
But why is it natural to bring in the party? I mean, why can't Elections Canada just talk to them? Why talk to the party lawyer?
Look, Evan, as I've said in the House a number of times, our party does provide assistance when it's required. In this instance, we've been very proactive with Elections Canada. We've cooperated. We've provided the assistance that they have asked for.
But did they? So you're saying each of these staffers asked for legal assistance? Every one of them?
No, Evan, I'm not saying that at all. But obviously, assistance was provided of them. I have no reason to believe that they're making something up. But look, this. I understand what the opposition is trying to do and say, 200 ridings across the country. I think in every riding in this country, at some point in time, we all have issues that we have to deal with. Sometimes it's, a sign was taken down inadvertently. I know in my own riding, for instance, I had my campaign literature strewn across 20 different intersections that was supposed to have been delivered.
The Pierre Poutine's a different story.
Absolutely. And that's why you have to get to the bottom. That's why you have to get to the bottom. Look, Elections Canada has been at this a long time. They've brought forward some charges. Mr. Sona has to answer to these charges. And if Mr. Sona is the one who is found guilty, he needs to be prepared to accept the consequences.
Can I ask you a question on that? You say the party, it's typical for the party to help out. So you've helped out these staffers in terms of legal help with Arthur Hamilton. Obviously, there was helping out with Arthur Hamilton in the case of Shelley Glover and her issue. Christian Paradis. We know now Mike Duffy got helped out. What about Dean Del Mastro? I'd asked him, why didn't the party help out Mr. Del Mastro? Where was Arthur Hamilton for him?
Again, I don't know the specifics on Mr. Del Mastro's case. I know that right now he's sitting outside of the caucus and he's dealing with this, and I know that he wants to have it dealt with as soon as possible. Right. So, I don't know the specifics of Mr. Del
legal help
case.
But he said he got no legal help. He told us that he never asked for it, but why does the party, Arthur Hamilton, not help the former parliamentary secretary, a guy who used to be in your job?
Yeah, again, if he says he didn't ask for it, I guess that would be one of the reasons why. I have no idea. That's something you'd have to ask Arthur Hamilton. I'm not the party lawyer, obviously, but I think it would be natural in this instance, given the seriousness of the allegations of wrongdoing in the Guelph riding, that we would help and assist to get to the bottom of this. I don't see any
you know why I'm
inconsistency
asking,
there.
because just the consistency. It's logical to help these young staffers and the others, but not the former parliamentary secretary who maintains his innocence. It's tough to square.
Well, if he hasn't asked for help, it's hard to ask. And of course, now he serves outside of the caucus.
Paul Calandra, Charlie Angus, and Ralph Goodale. It's always good to have the three of you back. Now we've got to go, gents, because we've got to go get back to the Rob Ford coverage.
Yeah, thanks for taking a break for us.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. I mean,